Dude, I heard you finally started listening to Metallica. How'd you find the band? I can't believe it even took you this long. What? No. Dude, from Stranger Things? Come on. Like you can't be serious. That's really how you discovered them, dude? Like, what are you, a poser? What do you mean? What, so you only know Master of Puppets and Enter Sandman? Those are the only songs you know. Okay, dude, why don't you save the heavy music for the real fans? All right?
This is for real.
That singular moment in television history introduced thousands, if not millions, of people to not just Metallica, but to heavy music in general. And instead of celebrate these new fans of the culture and these new fans of heavy music, a lot of people took to the internet and ridiculed them and made fun of them and called them fake fans, called them posers, and we're just doing a lot of really toxic gatekeeping behavior. And I have a problem with that. And I think everyone should. So today we're gonna go into what gatekeeping is, what kind of behaviors go into it, why I think people gatekeep music, and what you can do to just toss all that to the side, not worry about it, and just enjoy the music, because everyone should be welcome in the heavy music scene, regardless of how you discovered it. Let's get started. So first we have to answer the question, what exactly is gatekeeping? Well, gatekeeping is basically whenever a person who is a fan of a thing tries to keep other people from being fans of that thing, whether it be music, whether it be a TV show, whether it be a movie, whether it be a book. Any form of media can be gatekept from other people by fans who think that they need to protect it from outsiders. It often comes in, especially with music, it often comes in these similar packages. You know you're not a real fan if you only like their popular songs, right? You discover this band on TikTok? Dude, that's cringe. Oh, you listen to heavy metal? Name 5 obscure bands from the 80s that haven't made music in 30 years. First, let's talk about new fan hate, which is exactly what it sounds like. Hating on new fans of a band that's been around and has been established and has a dedicated fan base because they think that those, for some reason, new fans are going to co-opt the band and like make it worse somehow, instead of growing their popularity and giving them new opportunities because of the vast amount of new people being exposed to their music. This is exactly what I referenced at the start of the video, attacking people for just discovering a band and becoming a fan through popular media, like Stranger Things. This is a perfect example of this type of gatekeeping because it is so prevalent and it's so recent. It's so recent in the grand scheme of things because, I mean, just from that one episode, Master of Puppets gained like 250 million new plays on Spotify, and the song just blew up all over the internet, and people were discovering this band that's been around for 40 years, but they'd never heard of until they watched Stranger Things. Shout out Eddie Munson. Same thing goes for Kate Bush. I mean, I didn't hear a lot of Kate Bush hype until Running Up That Hill came along. Then suddenly everyone's covering that song. Everyone's got it on their playlists. Everyone loves Kate Bush all of a sudden because they heard that song on Stranger Things. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't think so, because that means Kate Bush is getting play. She's getting new plays, right? She's getting new people listening to the music. I mean, even like Meg Myers covering the song still leads people down the rabbit hole of hearing the original. Because, well, we hear this Meg Myers cover that's really popular, but what does the original sound like? And then people hear Kate Bush. And then they listen to more Kate Bush songs, which means more plays for Kate Bush, which means more money, which means they can keep doing stuff, even though I don't think Kate Bush is still doing music. Who knows? So the problem with this type of gatekeeping is that instead of welcoming new people into a fandom, welcoming new people into an artist's circle, as it were, into being a fan of this band, you're saying you're not welcome here because you haven't been here for very long. You just discovered it, so you can't come into our camp. You're not allowed. We're closing the gate. You're done. Amscray. The next type of gatekeeping that you see very common, especially in heavy music, is the genre elitists or the genre typecasting, genre purists, if you will, saying things like, that's not real metal, that's not real punk, that's not real hip hop, for example, hating on bands that experiment with their sound, try new things, branch out of what people consider to be the status quo of a particular subgenre. That all falls within this genre purist archetype of gatekeeping. And a very common band that is subjected to this is Sleep Token, because a lot of people say, well, Sleep Token's not a real metal band, they're not rock and roll, they do all this other stuff, they have all these different elements to their music. And if you want to learn more about Sleep Token and their music and all the stuff behind it, check out my video on Sleep Token. I talk about their music, talk about the lore, their lyrics, and I also talk exactly about this thing, which is toxic fans. But you can even go back as far as Bring Me the Horizon, right? They started off straight up early mid 2000s deathcore stuff, and now they've incorporated a lot of electronic elements, and it's much more palatable to a mainstream audience. But now suddenly they're not a real metal band anymore. Why? Because some people online got butthurt that they didn't release Chelsea Smile again. Who cares? Who literally cares? Only you, weirdo, in the comments. Only you care. No one else. Another example, which is, you know, I have my own feelings about this, would be artists like Machine Gun Kelly, MGK, releasing a pop punk record, Tickets to My Downfall, right? Built up his whole career as a rap artist. Now suddenly he's dropping a pop punk record. He's doing country songs. And the argument could be made, and has been made, that artists like MGK and Post Malone have built their careers off the backs of black art to then, once they get fame and fortune and success, abandon it completely for a more white palatable sound. The issue with being a genre purist, the issue with this mentality, is that it often limits what artists feel like they can do, because they know that if they do something outside of what people see as acceptable, it's not going to be as successful, and then they'll have a harder time wanting to branch out of that box that they've been forced to stay in because of their fans. Ultimately, I think bands see a lot more success when they break out of these stereotypical archetypes and structures for their music and do something different. Bring Me the Horizon got way bigger whenever they changed their sound. The reality is that this is their art. This is the artist's art. Whether you choose to listen to it, that's up to you. But if people like it, who cares? People like what they like. It's not up to you to dictate people's tastes. This also limits what genres are capable of. Whenever you typecast and you tighten the proverbial noose around what a genre is, it doesn't allow for a lot of innovation, and everything can get really stale really quickly. And that can lead to the death of a lot of bands and a lot of potential new listeners. Because if they hear a Lorna Shore record and then every other band sounds just like Lorna Shore, why would they go anywhere else? Why would they listen to any new artists? Everything sounds the same. So there has to be some kind of innovation within a genre in order for it to stay alive. That's why metal has persisted for so long, because people find new ways to make heavy music. Started with Black Sabbath, right? Now we've got Synestia and Lorna Shore and I Prevail and Architects and Wage War and all these bands doing different things, similar things maybe. Now you've got variety. Now you've got a market. You've got things that are palatable to multiple people. And you've got a successful niche that people can thrive in. They can find their niche, they can find what works, and it allows room to branch out and try new things. But whenever you say, no, you can't do this, you can only make this type of music forever, it sucks and it's boring and it kills bands and genres. The next one is an interesting one, because it's scene elitism, as I call it. It's saying that because you don't look, dress, act a certain way, you couldn't possibly be a fan of this genre of music or this band. And that's just objectively untrue.
No, it's not true. That's impossible.
I don't dress like I'm in Bauhaus, but I love Bauhaus. I may not have super long hair anymore, but I still love heavy metal, even though a lot of times heavy metal is associated with having long hair. I have tattoos. That's associated with heavy music a lot of times. But you don't have to have tattoos to listen to heavy music. You don't have to have multicolored hair to listen to emo bands or goth bands or whatever. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And I wish people understood this. Like, you don't wear Doc Martens and shave your head, and you couldn't possibly listen to this genre of music because you don't wear your hair in a particular style, and you don't wear this color t-shirt, and you don't do blah 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 blah. All I hear is garbage. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I literally work with teachers that look like they would listen to Toby Keith but listen to Mastodon and Black Sabbath. Like, appearances don't matter when it comes to music. It's the intent, right? It's the person themselves. Their external fashion choices does not have to be a direct representation of their music taste. Is it more common for people who listen to a certain type of music to dress in a way that reflects the vibe of that music? Sure, that's fine. But if you don't want to dress that way, don't dress that way. Fashion is just as much of an expression as music is. So if you don't want to express yourself outwardly in fashion as a certain way, as a goth or as a punk, but you love the music, it's fine. And oftentimes it can actually be dangerous in certain areas to outwardly express yourself that way. Because whether you like it or not, we live in extremely judgmental, extremely bigoted times. And anything that is seen as outside of a particular norm is seen as dangerous, okay? And it can be seen as a threat to the fabric of society, which can lead to some other problems, if you catch my meaning. So oftentimes, it could also be out of a sense of safety. I can't safely express myself in a way that I want to, so I'm going to dress in a way that I may not fully identify with, but at least keeps me safe. Like, you can't walk around wearing a Cradle of Filth shirt that has an inverted cross on the back and the Bible belt. You're gonna get some dirty looks. I mean, you can, that's your choice, but you're definitely gonna get some resistance for that, as opposed to areas that are less dogmatic about their religious beliefs than they are here in the South. So we've talked a lot about different styles of gatekeeping and how they're harmful, but how does gatekeeping as a whole affect the music industry? Well, it affects it in a number of ways. One, it stops new genres from growing. We touched on this previously, but when a genre gets stale, it dies. If Lamb of God only released Ashes of the Wake for the last 15 years, they would not get new fans. If Metallica only released Master of Puppets, they would not get new fans. They would not get as much radio play as they did when they released the Black Album. It simply wouldn't happen, right? Bob Rock had to make it more radio friendly in order for them to stay relevant. That's just how the industry works. You have to be able to adapt to what is popular and make it your own, because then you're carving out an extra niche for yourself and for your fans to get new fans from other areas of the scene, other genres even. And now you've got even more people loving your music, even more people coming to your shows, even more people buying your merch. If you only stay in one box, or you feel forced to only stay in one box because of toxic fans, you're never going to grow as an artist. It also really hurts smaller bands and more niche subgenres. Let's look at nu metal for an example. It was ridiculed for years. I mean, nu metal was made fun of into the ground for decades. And now suddenly Limp Bizkit is cool. Like, almost meme worthy cool. In fact, they are meme worthy cool. Have you seen how Fred Durst dresses nowadays? Even like Korn was made fun of. And now they're hanging out plays on Spotify like crazy, because suddenly nu metal is cool. Because people said, hey, this music is actually dope. There's just a stigma around the people that listen to nu metal that we've materialized in our minds that isn't actually entirely true, right? A lot of people gave into particular stereotypes of the people that listen to nu metal and how they behave and how they act and what they're involved with. And that led to the subgenre kind of dying out for a long time. And now it's making a resurgence over the last few years because people are realizing the music is actually kind of dope. Just sucky people made it seem lamer than it was because they didn't like the people that were associated with the subgenre. Because of how toxic this mentality is, it can just inherently turn people off from a genre or a band altogether. Slayer, for example. Slayer fans have a reputation of being extremely rude and disrespectful to bands that go on tour with Slayer. They'll like turn their back to the opening acts. They'll be super aggressive towards fans of other bands. And that makes people not like Slayer because their fans kind of suck sometimes. And that's not Slayer's fault. That's the fans. Toxic fans can ruin an experience. I have a perfect story for this. This didn't ruin the band for me, but definitely ruined going to their shows for me. Last year, was it last year? Last year, maybe 2 years ago, I went to see Bad Omens. We get in. First of all, the line for the show is wrapped twice around the block to get in. Second of all, people were like pushing past each other to cut in line. Already a red flag for me. We get in, we get a good spot, and people start arguing with my partner about how we're suddenly in their way at a standing room only venue. And we just claimed the most open spot as close to the stage as we could that wasn't impeding anyone else. They had plenty of room to see, but they threw a big old fit and nearly got into a physical altercation with my partner and our group because one person had a problem with where we were standing. Silly boneheaded behavior. We move on. Show's going on. Bad Omens finally comes out. People lose their ever loving minds. Keep in mind, this is when Bad Omens was, I think, at the height of their popularity. They were the most viral they could have been at this time. Okay, The Death of Peace of Mind had just dropped. It hadn't been out for that long yet, so it was still super fresh, popping, going crazy viral online, on TikTok, on Spotify, everywhere. It's a heavy show. It's a metal show, so there's crowd surfers. Crowd surfer etiquette, for those of you who aren't aware, is if you are in the path of a crowd surfer, the person behind you is supposed to tap you on the shoulder to let you know, hey, there's a guy coming. Keep your hands up. Keep your eyes open so you can catch him and not have anyone fall on you. I have no problem with crowd surfing as a concept. What I do have a problem with is people, one, not warning you whenever there's a 350-pound man barreling towards the back of your neck and having them fall. This literally happened. Having them fall on you so hard that it, in fact, completely stiffens up your neck and you think you have to go to the hospital. That happened, and that really sucked. But also, whenever it's so constant that there's just no break, there's no way to get out. You're completely pinned in by this massive sold out crowd. There's just nowhere to go. So that sucked because I had to spend more time carting people over my head, getting kicked in the face and elbowed in the side of the head and all this other crap instead of getting to enjoy the show. Again, I don't mind crowd surfing, but like, cool it. Let me watch the show. Let me watch the show. Anyway, the thing that killed me the most about this whole experience, I look up at the railing of this venue, and there's a girl, I swear to you, she's front row for Bad Omens. Not only is she on her phone, she was playing a Snapchat crossword puzzle in the middle of the show. The middle of Bad Omen's set. We're 25 minutes into their set, and she's on her phone playing a crossword puzzle, leaning against the railing right next to the stage. I could not give a harder bombastic side eye if I could have. My eyes would have popped out of my skull. They nearly did. I was furious because it's just so disrespectful. It's one thing if you want to be on your phone and like take some pictures or take a video, whatever. But if you're going to be on your phone and play a game, why are you here? You could have watched the clips at home on the phone you're on right now. I'm off the soapbox. We're moving on. To wrap up this point, whenever you say you can't be a part of this, it makes people pull away and it makes people feel unwelcome. It makes people feel unwelcome in a space that they really want to be a part of, and then they just never try to be a part of that space. And now you're missing out on a potential new friend, an acquaintance, right? Someone you could go to shows with. You're missing out on a lot whenever you tell someone you can't be a part of this because you're too new. Not how it works. Not how it should work. What can we do to combat this mentality? To combat gatekeeping? There's a few things that you can do. First one, I think is the easiest, is to just be supportive of new fans. Encourage them. Don't shame them. Say, hey, you just found this artist? Okay, check out this album, check out this album, check out this album, check out this album. Watch this video, watch this music video. They have a show coming up on these dates. Find one that's closest to you. I'll help you, whatever. You know what I mean? Doing that will go a lot further than saying, you can't listen to this band. You're not cool enough. That's not how you want to act. You want to welcome people in with open arms and say, I'm so glad that you found this thing that I love and I'm passionate about. Let me help you foster this love too. That's much more inviting. It's much more positive. And it also benefits the bands. Again, this all comes back to how can you benefit the band that you like by getting new people into the genre, getting new people into their music. Another way is by supporting the bands. If a band wants to try a new sound, give it a shot. Don't just knock it because it's different. Really give it a shot. Sit with it, digest it. Think about why they might have wanted to go in that direction. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it, and that's okay. But don't just say, that's different, and then swear off the band forever. If you don't like the album, you don't like the album. But you could at least give it a shot. So you could say, oh, I listened to it, wasn't my cup of tea. I prefer their other stuff. Maybe they'll go back to that and on their next record, or they'll try something that I like on the next record, or whatever. Or maybe you'll have what happened to me with artists like Noah Kahan and Hozier, where not my preferred genre of choice, those two artists. But the more I listened to their music, the more chances I gave it, the more it grew on me. And then I went and saw them at Pilgrimage Festival and was blown away by how good they are live. Hozier, incredible live. Noah Kahan, insanely good live. And now I love their music, and I would consider myself a fan of those artists. But I wouldn't have ever gotten to that point if I didn't just give their music a shot and digest it and sit with it for a minute, you know? Another thing you can do is acknowledge that people enjoy music differently. Some people love the lyrics. Some people love the melody. Some people love analyzing the meaning behind songs, or music nerds like myself like to go into the music theory and the production behind a song. But not everyone likes doing that. Not everyone likes memorizing an artist's entire discography and learning all the different trivia. They may just think the music sounds good, and that's good enough. That's good enough. If you just walk up to someone and say, hey, you know, Lars and James really hated Jason, so they intentionally left his bass out of the mix on And Justice for All. They may not give two farts in the wind about how much James and Lars hated Jason Newsted. They might just like the record. They might not care about this lore of Sleep Token. They might just like the music. Someone left a comment on my Sleep Token video because I recommended, if you're brand new to the band and you're not aware that it's a whole story, just listen to Take Me Back to Eden. It's a great album. It sounds incredible, and the songs are awesome. And they got really, really mad at me for making that recommendation. You clearly don't know anything about Sleep Token, because if you did, you would know that it's all one big story and you have to start from the beginning. Guess what, buddy? No, I don't. No one does. That comment actually kind of made me upset, because it's just like, that's exactly the problem. That was my first Sleep Token record, was Take Me Back to Eden. And then I went and listened to their other stuff. And then I listened to it all the way through in chronological order, or whatever, as if it matters. You could listen to that album in any order and it's still a good album. Not give two farts in the wind about the story behind it, behind the meaning of Euclid, or Take Me Back to Eden, or Chokehold, or Rain. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? And I even made a whole video about the meaning behind those songs. Who cares? I think it's fun. I think it's fun to find interpretations for those things, especially whenever it's left so vague. But who cares? People may have different interpretations of the lore. They definitely do. Read the comments of that video. Look, at the end of the day, music is meant to be shared and enjoyed by everybody, regardless of your backgrounds, regardless of your socioeconomic status, regardless of your upbringing, even regardless of your political beliefs. Music transcends all those things and should be shared. Because what happens if you meet someone that has some problematic views, right? They're bigoted or they're racist, and then you show them music by people of color that changes their mind, and they go, oh, maybe I was wrong about this group of people. Music can do that, and it has done that a million times over, because you get exposed to opposing ideas, alternative ways of thinking, alternative views. But if you say, you can't listen to my music because you don't think the same as me, you don't look the same as me, you don't talk the same as me, you don't spend the same way as me, you don't earn the same way as me, you don't dress the same way as me, you're not only doing yourself a disservice and the artist a disservice and the genre a disservice, but you're doing that person whose mind could be changed and who could be influenced into being a better version of themselves by being a selfish jerk. Don't be a selfish jerk. Whenever the scene grows, it thrives. And whenever the scene thrives, ultimately, We as the listeners are the ones who win, and I like winning. So instead of keeping people out, I say we open the gates.
This is from you.
Because if that guy would have welcomed new Metallica fans, you should too. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. What are your thoughts about gatekeeping? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? And why? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what video you would like to see next from me. I'm trying to get more consistent about uploading these videos, so let me know what you want to see. Be sure to like the video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next upload. If you have any horror stories from someone gatekeeping you from an artist or a particular subgenre of music, feel free to drop that in the comments down below as well. I might make a video sharing some of those stories. I'll see you in the next one.